GHKLL on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. It's Monday, June 14th. I trust you had a good weekend. This is Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Welcome to the National Outlook. There are a number of things that we wanted to talk about, start the week off today. But I think it would be wrong on my part to talk about anything other than flooding. It's a problem. And a week ago, as carried by Kaieteur News on Monday, June 7th, on page 8, the caption was, Guyana facing worst disaster in country's history. I think we are close to that. It's not number 10, even if it's not number 1 in terms of worst disaster. It's somewhere around 3 or 4 at a minimum. Okay? So we're in a rough shape, and every day since then it's been raining, and in the city it's been raining, and with the rains have come flood and misery and woes. And if it's raining this much in Georgetown and the extensions, the East Bank and East Coast, I can't begin to think what is happening in the interior and in the distant areas, which I read about in the Quarantine and Blackbush and elsewhere. Now, later in the week, last week, the narrative changed slightly, and look, I'm not looking for anything here. It's bad. It's now a level 2 disaster. I think level 1 might be really bad. Where level 2 is where the country is not overwhelmed, but international help is needed. Well, I hear that word help, and I think we need it. We all know that we need it. So here is where I'm going with this. We are going to the international community. Why is our president, Dr. Ali, why is our government, the PPP government, that holds the reins of power and the levers of power, is not reaching out to all, including the opposition, which has the next major constituency in this country? Bring it on board in some manner. I think when we are in this place, when neighbors are in this situation, in a community with a fire or a flood or a serious injury or a major health catastrophe, this is what happens. We rally around one another, we open our arms, we shake hands. So we have a bad disaster, a national disaster, agreed. When it's worst, the worst or not, it's not up for debate now. So here's my question. We've got my position. We've got to stop the politics and start governing. And governing means moving from the partisan to the national. I ask these questions. They're hard questions, and God forbid that any of them were to occur. What would happen if we have a major portion of the Georgetown seawall by the Kingston breaks away at extremely high tides? Now, that is not just Georgetown. It is national, because our city, the administrative capital, would be paralyzed. Water would be up to our necks. Would we go it alone then? I say we shouldn't. What happens if we have a major oil spill? God forbid. An environmental catastrophe that impacts not only us, our communities, our fishermen, our livelihoods, but our neighbors who depend on tourism and their pristine beaches and water and oceans. What happens to them? Who's going to foot that bill? Are we going to go it alone? And last, God forbid again, if by some situation, some confluence of events, we have a conflict, a real hot conflict. Notice I'm not using that 3-letter word that begins with a W. We have a real hot 3-letter word, conflict, with our neighbors, Venezuela. Is half of this country going to be up in arms and the other half sitting on their arms, on their hands? So the bottom line question remains, in flooding, I think we need all hands on deck, and I'm writing about this. I've already written about it. In any national disaster, we need to be sensible. We need to be at our wisest, and we need to be at our strongest. And I think when we go with the government alone, we're not doing so. We're going to ask for $10 billion. All of us are going to have to pay for that. Let's bear that in mind. I say, in unity there's strength. Together, we can overcome. It's a bad time. The flooding has brought that about. Let's be smart about this and go about this comprehensively and universally. This is GHK Lal on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on the National Outlook.